I got a call at this point, I think it was 3 to 4 years ago, from two very artistic young folks that have a company called Scene 4, and they're based in Los Angeles. They really were the ones that came up with the idea to have drummers play in a completely dark room using lighted sticks. And then they have a photographer that comes in and does like a 15-second, approximately a 15-second exposure that then that photograph we put on canvas. This one here I call quadraphonic. There was 4 versions from a similar shoot, and I liked every one of them so much I couldn't just decide on one. So what about we put all 4 of them on one piece? So we tried that, and it has a very interesting look to it.
I remember you mentioned that you were practicing at home in front of the mirror. You did that with the lighted sticks to see what the movement was, or was that just your own thing?
Yeah, years before Scene 4 contacted me, I had these sticks from Vic Firth, and they're sticks with lights in the tip. And it was something that I thought, okay, maybe that's kind of a gimmick, and but I took them home and started practicing with them. And the use of them for me was once the sun went down and I was in my practice room, which has a lot of windows, and it was completely dark. It was really interesting to I can watch the motions and just see what my technique looks like, following the notes of the motion that my body makes in between the impacts that you hear.
Yeah.
And I practiced in front of a mirror so I could see it in the mirror. So then I actually started to really get into making shapes and making sure that my motions were streamlined. I have a new book out, and the book's called Pathways of Motion. And what that's about, in a way, is what your body does as a drummer, the motions that you make in order to play the drums. The collection is called Fabric of Rhythm, with the idea is that you can see the fabric of the rhythm that you hear. You don't actually see what goes into the creation of that as far as the motions go. This is the new book that Hudson Music just put out. It's Pathways of Motion. It's a book and DVD, and it describes really what I think about to get those pathways of motion, like how my body works and how everyone's works to play the drums. Let me just start by playing a little bit. I know everyone likes to hear some drumming at a drum clinic. So I'll start by playing and just doing some improvising on the kit, and then we'll get into some of these details. In the book, Pathways of Motion, the first version of match grip is just this real basic kind of German grip, the hands overhand like that, and you're holding the sticks with all 4 fingers, and using the wrists to raise the stick for when we want to play an accent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So though I have the hands closed, they're relaxed. so it was the entire experience of doing it was really interesting.
Yeah, well,
And
that was going to be a question of mine. Was
Yeah.
like, did you find the experience? Was it rewarding for
absolutely.
you?
Oh yeah, and I had a lot of curiosity as like what's the end result going to be like. I had no real idea of knowing, just an idea that, well, I think I know what I'm going to do here, but let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And so we were really pleased with the results, and it's just been an interesting additional artistic outlet for me, and I then addressed that recently by creating a drum solo piece for each piece of art. Corey from Scene 4 said that they were wanting to put out a coffee table book of all these pieces.
Great.
And that's when I offered the idea, well, what if I create a drum solo composition, really, a piece for each piece of art, and then that will be included in the coffee table book as an LP, a vinyl LP.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
so I went in the studio and really spent about 4 or 5 days recording all these pieces that I examined each piece of art, and was either I could remember what I was playing and then I played something like I was playing, or just was inspired by the piece to come up with something. And I ended up coming up with 14 pieces. So there'll be 7 on each side. There's 13 pieces of art, but one of the pieces called Infinity Knot, which is sold out. I had 2 good ideas, so I just came up with Infinity Knot Part 1 and Infinity Knot Part 2.
Maybe the last thing is, what do you see yourself doing after this tour?
Next year, 2017, I'll be touring with Journey in Asia in February, and then hopefully Europe about a month or so after that, and then back to the US for some summer dates. So after tonight, the pieces will be available at stevesmithdrumart.com. One more time. So, okay, lights.